The Trump administration talks tough on fertilizer prices and right to repair. I'm Steve White. It's midday. Time for Top Ag News on the Rural Radio Network. Market concentration in agriculture was the subject as USDA Deputy Secretary Stephen Vaden spoke to the Center for Agricultural Law. On the equipment side, Vaden says the administration believes farmers have a legal right to fix what they own.
This administration thinks farmers should be able to repair their own equipment, and industry's efforts to prevent them from doing so are illegal.
Vaden points to a Federal Trade Commission lawsuit against John Deere, arguing restrictive dealer networks, mandatory OEM parts, and repair lockouts give manufacturers outsized pricing power. But his most pointed comments came when the conversation turned to fertilizer, where Vaden accused two dominant companies of driving up costs. He singled out Mosaic and Nutrien, calling their control of fertilizer markets unacceptable, and argued their lack of investment helped create the very competition they tried to avoid.
It should have never been allowed to happen in the first place that those two companies were able to so constrain the supply of so many of the fertilizers our farmers depend on that they were able to get pricing power.
Vaden went further, alleging the companies operate a joint venture in Canada that works together to control prices, behavior he says would violate U.S. law if done here. He says a new $13 billion private investment in a Canadian mine expected to begin exporting fertilizer in 2027 could finally break that grip. Vaden says the administration is trying to ensure farmers have access to fertilizer at prices they can afford. Nebraska ag producers head to the state capitol. Whether it's issues like property taxes or funding for water projects or rural issues like housing and childcare, there's a lot on the minds of those in the current Nebraska LEAD program class. Curtis Harms is lead director and shares about the value of learning to navigate the legislative process.
The purpose of the Nebraska LEAD program is always to develop that next generation of agricultural leaders that are going to serve agriculture and serve the state of Nebraska. And a big part of that is understanding who you can go to if you have issues, if you want to change policy, if you're wanting to advocate on behalf of your industry.
The LEAD class is spending 2 days in Lincoln, meeting with lawmakers and learning more about state government. Looking at rural issues, something that can be overlooked is the level of poverty in rural America. Alex Makovica has more on new findings.
Well, the Rural at a Glance report shed a light on poverty levels across rural America. Tracy Farragon is a lead research economist.
What we find just by looking across counties corresponds with this overall decrease in poverty for rural America as a whole. So, for example, there were 370 high poverty counties in 2023. So that's counties where the poverty rate is 20% or higher. And that was down from 403 in 2022.
Thanks, Alex. Nebraska Extension is hosting 2 upcoming crop production clinics focused on research-based management decisions. The corn production clinic is tomorrow, Wednesday, January 28th in Aurora. And looking ahead, the soybean production clinic is Tuesday, February 3rd at the Merritt County Fairgrounds with a full day of soybean-focused education and continuing credits available in both cases. And how do you spell success? On our website, the heartwarming story of some young kids at a rural school showing their spelling prowess. Find that at ruralradionetwork.com.